Many of the legacy Bush people, because I've heard people say, I mean, during the second term of the Bush administration, I remember the idea being that it's going to take like 12 years to sort of flush the system of the damage and the personnel who were still interested in doing damage from the system. We didn't get to 12 years. We got to 8 years. How many of those people that the Bush administration put into in this particular department are still there and are just like, finally, here's my balloon payment, essentially. How many of those remain? And I just want to talk about the different legacies and how many of the people that Tom Perez put in and then his successors, Samuels and Gupta, put in to the civil rights division. How many will go forward, do you think? And do they have, and these are two very distinct questions, but do these people have a distinct mission of like, we're now the partisans, hiding in the woods, more or less?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so I think on the first question, I think by the end of the Obama administration, there certainly are still people who were hired during the George W. Bush administration who remain at the Civil Rights Division. I think that for the most part, those are the lawyers who came in during the Bush administration, but actually were good, effective lawyers who were willing to appropriately follow what the new administration wants. I mean, it is true that elections matter in this country. We have an executive branch where the president comes in, gets to appoint his political people, and they get to make certain decisions about how to allocate resources. And we can criticize those decisions, but there's not an illegitimacy to the fact that they're making those decisions. And I think there are some lawyers who will still be there who will now do what their new supervisors want. But who are basically good lawyers. I think the sort of fifth columnists, the people who are actively working to undermine civil rights enforcement, I think after a while they realized it just wasn't that fun to be working the Civil Rights Division anymore. Many of them found, very nice sinecures in the right-wing media or other organizations. A lot of them, I expect, will come back now. Mm-hmm. But I don't think, I think the legacy, the sort of toxic legacy of the George W. Bush administration, that required a lot of work, but I think that Tom Perez and his successors really worked through that. Now, the question is, well, what about all the new people who were hired? Because a lot of people have been hired in the last 8 years. When the Democrats controlled Congress, there was a very big hiring boost in the first couple of years of the Obama administration. And of course, there's been turnover in the period since. I obviously talk to a lot of people who are still there. I have a lot of friends in the division. My sense of the people who are there is they're working to be able to do their work, to be able to continue to enforce the civil rights laws. It's not. I don't think they're going to be out to act as some kind of internal resistance. They want to enforce the laws. If the new administration says we want to prioritize this set of civil rights laws or this set of civil rights cases rather than another, I think they'll probably do that. I think the concern is that the folks who are perceived as being liberal, who are perceived as being civil rights advocates, who are among the career staff, will be targeted for retaliation. That's what happened in the George W. Bush administration. People who had come in during the Clinton administration, people who were understood as being close to the political appointees in the Clinton administration, people who had a particular profile as being aggressive civil rights advocates, those are folks who got, these transfers without warning to do nothing jobs. A lot of the lawyers in the Civil Rights Division were actually reassigned to handle deportation cases, to kick people out of the country, which is like you want want to make a civil rights lawyer's life hell, like that's a thing to do. Tell them you're going to get up every day and you're going to kick people out of this country. And there was a point to that, right? And the point to that was to try to drive people out. And I expect we'll see that again.
I mean, do you have a sense of, are there maybe this is something that you wouldn't be able to tell, but are there like secret like fight clubs where we're going to get together as support groups and we're just going to say like we're all going to try and hang in here for 4 years because if I'm on that deportation desk, you know, my pen's a lot slower than it used to be, that type of thing.
You know, I mean, I think that people are going to do their jobs. I think that people have very individual decisions to make, though. You know, and I think everybody has his or her own individual degree of tolerance. You know, what is the amount that I'm willing to tolerate? And you know, I think these are really hard decisions. It's obviously really important for the enforcement of civil rights laws, for the good people who are in career positions who went there to carry out the laws that Congress passed, to stay there to try to fight for what, you know, to fight for those laws. Again, this is not their own personal political views. I mean, these are laws that were passed by Congress, that were signed by the president. They're a part of the U.S. Code. They're a part of the Constitution. They're important, and they're recognized as important beyond just some individual person's conscience. But look, I mean, at some point it becomes too hard and people will leave. Some people can't leave. You know, some people will find that there's no other job they can get that's a job that kind of fits their lives the way they need it to. But you know, if it's too intolerable for too long, then a lot of people will leave.
Hey, it's Sam Seder. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so right over here. Subscribe.